makes us ashamed of ourselves, so that we become our worst enemies and what have you. They don't have to send anybody to guard us, we guard ourselves. Because this is what their education does to us. So our education must be about liberating ourselves. In order to liberate ourselves, we have to attack the system that's responsible for our oppression. We have to be engaged. We have to be engaged. And of course, what has happened is that the status quo has been defined as the norm. What exists is what is normal, what is real, what is right. So you can see scores and sometimes thousands of people die in a place in Africa, and that's normal. It's the status quo. We live in a world where more than half the people on earth live off $2 or less a day. And what they refer to as sub-Saharan Africa, Africa, the richest continent on earth in terms of natural resources. People live off $1 or less a day. A cow in Europe has a subsidy of $2 a day, which means that a cow in Europe is better off than an African in Africa. We work in a place called Sierra Leone in West Africa, where some of the best diamonds in the world come from. People bring out billions of dollars of diamonds from those mines. They work for 32 cents a day and a bowl of rice. A cup of rice, I should say. In Sierra Leone, there's no national electric grid. There is no clean water. I mean, we've set up systems of clean water. Did you show me that yet? Have you signaled me? I don't want to be indisciplined. Yeah, okay. There is no clean water. There is no electrical grid. People get their electricity, they've got generators. It's the noisiest place in the world you're going to hear, because everybody's got generators trying to get light. And the children don't have an opportunity to study at night. They can't study at night. Or they study by candlelight, or they find one light that might be in a community and all the students are gathered there trying to read it. Why such poverty when such wealth is extracted from there on a regular basis? Why is it that an oil situation where a struggle in Nigeria against the oil corporations there, Shell and what have you, who's stealing all the oil there, can result in the price of gasoline going up in Los Angeles, California? Because it is a parasitic social system that requires the vast majority of us to be in these circumstances as the conditions for its existence. We cannot survive with this system. And we have to join the rest of humanity that is bent on changing the relationship with imperialism. That is the only way forward. And so I salute you for being here. I looked at the agenda for this conference. It was extraordinary. I could not even believe that it was possible to hold such a conference with such an agenda any place in this country. I want to salute you. I want to salute the body. I have learned so much being with you here, listening to you, and we're going to duplicate some of what we learned here. We're going to take this, we're going to have a little cross-pollination going on. And I'm going to try to do everything I can to recreate in the African community what you have created here. And I also want to say this, that this is an extraordinary relationship that we have. That especially is a relationship that was created, I think, by the African People's Socialist Party, Union de Barrio, that has so much potential in terms of uniting the struggles of African people and Mexican people, the indigenous peoples here, in the struggle to end this social system that bleeds us and oppresses us. There's nothing good about this system. People are dying every day as a consequence of it. In Sierra Leone, the place I mentioned, the average lifespan is 39 years old. 39 years old. And the leader of our work there is something like 29 years old. He's middle-aged at 29. And we can't continue to live with this kind of system. We can't continue to believe the politicians and those representatives of the system who ask us to just be patient, that things will get better. The system has proved itself over and over again not to work in our interest. We have to make the break. We have to create independent organization and make the break. Make the break with imperialism. We have a saying, imperialism, you can live without it. You can live without it. So, we've become accustomed to this relationship, I know it. There's a woman from our community, her name was A.R.E, who was known, she escaped from this slavery, and she made regular trips back to help others to escape. But she carried a gun. And she carried a gun not so much against the slave, to deal with the slave masters. She carried a gun because people who she was helping to escape would often get afraid and want to go back. And she pulled a gun and said, no, no. She said, dead men tell no tale. Dead men tell no tale. And the fact is that we become accustomed to our oppression. It becomes the norm for us. It becomes normal for us. We have to really recapture our sense of self-worth, self-dignity. This is what this kind of conference can contribute to. We must hate oppression. We must hate our own oppression. We must learn to love ourselves, to know that we have a right to be a free people, and we have a right to be free people now. There is no excuse. At all for what you do to our children. You can't offer me an explanation of why the prisons of California are filled with Africans and Mexicans and indigenous people. You can't give me an explanation for that. Don't talk to me about crime. We have to reject the system and its definitions of our reality. We know the person who just went to jail, who just went to prison. We live with them. We cannot allow them to define for us. It's our mothers and our brothers and sisters and uncles and nephews who they're locking up on a daily basis. You think the economic crisis is bad now? Think of what it would be if the 2-point-whatever million people who are locked up in prisons were accounted as a part of the job market. And prison offers them an opportunity to take people who would be in revolutionary motion off the streets. And also, it makes it possible for them to remove us from the ranks of folk who are out here trying to work and trying to make a living and looking for alternatives. We want our people back from the prisons, and we refuse to allow them to turn these institutions that we find ourselves involved in on a daily basis and to prisons of another sort, prisons of our brains and what have you. So I thank you again for allowing me to be here with you. A.R.E, and all of you. I'd like to just leave you with Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru.